It's a beautiful day in Daytona Beach, Florida. Today we celebrate the 60th anniversary of the most iconic race in American history, the Daytona 500. Before that begins, however, we've got a little esports action for your viewing pleasure. Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Daytona International Speedway. We have all sorts of exciting things before the big race, but before that, we've got something very exciting for you guys. We have the bonds of the conventional venue is no match for Esports Arena Drive. Our mobile esports touring arena made her debut last month in Las Vegas, exemplifying a groundbreaking new experience. Before that, though, it took one brave driver and 2,500 miles of adventure to get her there.
What's going on, guys? Luke Brew here in Pivottown, North Carolina. It's like negative 85 degrees here, but it's a new year and we're ready to rock and roll. We're about to make Esports Arena Drive's maiden voyage to Las Vegas, but we're gonna see more about what's inside of it later. Let's meet the superstar who's in charge of driving her over there. All right, Joe. 2,400 miles in 4 days. You up for the challenge?
I can do it in 2.
Well, then I guess I'll see you in Vegas.
You're not going to go with me?
It's 2,300 miles, Joe.
Millennials.
Damn, look at all this shiny shit. Dang, that's sick. All right, Joe, let's go!
Hey, Luke. I'm here, man.
What? You're in Vegas already? It's only been 2 days.
I don't see you.
Joe, the Apterymin's in Memphis. We need you at the Luxor.
Oh. The Luxor. Let's ride.
Joe, you finally made it.
How you doing?
Good, 2,300 miles, 4 days, 7 states.
You missed a great trip, Luke.
Well, at least you got the right pyramid this time. The Luxor! Well, we don't have a lot of time left, Joe, so let's go ahead and get this truck set up for some esports action.
$1 million tournament. Make money move. You know what I'm talking about? Make money move. My gosh, and what a beautiful turn around the court. Here comes the finish line, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I'm talking about, man.
First, we had Las Vegas, then Los Angeles, California, and now we're here at Daytona Beach, Florida. Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Bill Carter, and I have the pleasure of being joined on the desk by the man with the skills that thrill, operator of the 00, Mr. Jeffrey Earnhardt. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. It's the day of the Daytona 500. What's not to love?
The big race, the most iconic race in all of American history. Now, as everyone's aware, this is the 40th year in a row wherein Earnhardt has been at the Daytona 500. What's that legacy like for you?
It's incredible. You know, I know how hard my grandfather worked to build that legacy and to build that Earnhardt name, and you know, to be able to have the opportunity to continue to try and carry that name on and give the Earnhardt fans an Earnhardt to cheer for is a huge honor, and I just hope that I can do it to my best of my ability and keep the fans happy.
As someone that has obviously been around the track your entire life, what is it to you that stands out the most about this specific venue here at the Daytona International Speedway?
I mean, it's the Super Bowl of our whole season. You know, we're a little backwards. We have the big race at the beginning of the year, so you know, it's such a historic race, and to get the opportunity just to participate in it's a big deal. But then when you win it, it's just a dream come true. So you know, it's just an awesome venue, awesome time, great fans, a ton of fans, and it's a sold-out crowd, so let's have some fun today.
It is indeed. Now, this is the first year where we're bringing Esports Arena Drive, this awesome truck, video games. As someone that I know, you know, played a little bit of video games, what do you think about bringing this virtual experience, this gaming experience, rather, to the blacktop here at the Midway?
I think it's awesome. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, everyone here's a racing fan, so to be able to give them the opportunity to come up here, play the game is incredible. It's an incredible setup, and I just hope I don't get beat too bad because
well,
I'm not the best.
We're going to give you that opportunity now. We have obviously some stations for you available. We are racing NASCAR Heat 2. One of the newest launches, officially licensed by NASCAR, and you know, we're not even going to wait. We're going to go ahead and let you get on that. I know we've got some excited individuals ready to play with you, so we're going to kick you off a mic and let you have some fun.
Let's go.
lap. Only a 3-lap qualifier there for Jeffrey to get it. We're going to get him back on the desk, but we've got a new face on the desk, but a very familiar voice to come hang out with us, Mr. Dave Moody. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. This is fun. This is a lot of fun. What a great way to get ready for the race. Let's race before the race.
The race before the race it is. Now, obviously, this isn't your first Daytona.
No.
I think it's safe to say.
It's far from my first.
It's far from your first. What do you think? This year's 60th anniversary of the Daytona 500 here at the Speedway.
Well, we couldn't have asked for a better day for it, absolutely. I guess the temperature's going to 84 today. So wear your sunscreen. Get hydrated, and that means water. No, not that. See, that's what I'm telling you. Adult beverages are not hydration. We get more people in trouble that way.
It has been lots of people cycling in and out. Now, obviously, you're commentating the big race.
Yes.
We're bringing the esports, the video games actions right here to the Midway with Esports Arena Drive. This is the first year that we've done it. What are your thoughts?
This is a really neat deal, and it's now beginning to deliver racers from esports into actual on-track competition. Ty Majeski, who's going to run a bunch of Xfinity Series races for Jack Roush this year, is the #1 iRacing driver in the world. William Byron, who's running in the Cup Series now, taking over the legendary #24. He got his start in online racing. So this is a really neat deal. You know, old guys like me took a little while to warm up to it, but I see the value of it, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, we've got someone who got an opportunity just a second ago to do 3 laps around the track virtually. We're going to have Mr. Jeffrey Earnhardt himself come back right on and talk to us. I know that's a familiar face for you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So how fun was that?
That was fun. I didn't fare so well. I wasn't sure if black flags are on, if I could just dodge all the wrecks and go down below the yellow line and pass everybody, but
we definitely turned the settings down where it kind of auto assists you on the curves. It kind of automatically slows down the car and allows you to pretty much play bumper cars, you know, hitting the other cars. And it's going to take you a lot to spin out on that one.
It was a lot of fun, though, but I got to do better than 8th. That wasn't very good.
Well, I know we've got some fans that are still excited for you. You know, we talked to you a little bit earlier about the legacy of Earnhardt 40 years in a row. Do you have any comments on that as well?
Well, I'm just glad you're in the race, man. I've been coming here for 30 years, so there were Earnhardts here when I arrived, and you know, as old as I am, there'll probably be Earnhardts here when I leave too. But I'm just glad you found a good quality ride for this season.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to stick around for many years to come. You know, it's a tough sport, really hard to keep finding the sponsor dollars to keep running. But you know, I'm thankful to be here. Thankful for the opportunity I got with Starcom Racing and VRX Simulators on board for today's race.
Now, you only did 3 laps. You got a chance to play the game. Now you've gotten, you know, all sides of the experience of the truck. We've got the production studio. We've got the broadcast guys in the back. We've got the actual gaming aspect. Any thoughts on this initiative with the Esports Arena Drive?
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, like, as he said, you know, you're seeing all these guys that are playing esports, and they're going from esports to on the track and just really excelling really well with it. So it's an incredible experience. I think it's, you know, a great connection to get that younger fan or that younger age demographic to link up to NASCAR, and that's what we need.
Well, we won't keep you any longer. We're going to let you go back over. I know there's some excited people that are wanting to play with you, so we'll get you guys off stage. And Dave, you know, we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but what are you most excited to see, you know, just today as a whole with the 500?
Well, I've not gone into many Daytona 500s, maybe none, with less of an idea of what we're going to see today, because with the impound, you know, they qualified the cars and then they weren't allowed to touch them again until after the duels had run, or until the duels were running. So a lot of virtually every car out there went out and qualified with a full qualifying setup, raced in the dual races with a full qualifying setup, which made the cars very skittish, very hard to handle, very unwieldy. They've now backed way off on that qualifying setup to go to a more stable race day setup, but they didn't do a lot of practicing yesterday. So I think a lot of these teams are still maybe only about 75% sure what they're going to have when the green flag flies today.
And we saw what happened yesterday. As long as it went, it was a .001 photo finish, one of the closest finishes ever.
It was .0004 was the actual, which works out to about 2.5 to 3 inches.
It was about as close of a photo finish as you can get in human history. And what are your thoughts on with the new regulations on the back end? We saw how skittish things were as well. A lot of people were worried about it's going to get hot. That track's going to get hot today.
Yeah, and that's going to make the cars a handful, because the hotter it gets, the more rubber gets put down by the tires. The track just gets greasy, and you may put the car where you want it, but it may not stay where you want it. And with the new drafting and the new, the lack of rear ride height rules this year, these cars feel a whole lot different than they did a year ago or really ever before here. So it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, and I was talking to a couple people yesterday trying to figure out is there or was there or has there been developed rather a more optimal setting when you have to actually go on your pit crew with only 5 crew members. Do you see a more optimal setup, or do you think that that's going to be a real telling tale of which of these crews are really going to help their drivers put themselves out ahead?
I think most of the teams at this point have a pretty good idea how they're going to attack this. I think they arrived with a pretty good idea. But I know in the Clash and also in the duels, a lot of teams had one eye on their own race team and their own pit stops, and at least another eye on everybody else, just to see if somebody had come up with a better idea, maybe invented a better mousetrap. I think at this point they're pretty sure about what they want. I have talked to a few crew chiefs, though, that say they actually have 2 or 3 different sets of pit stop choreography that they can go to based on what adjustments they have to make on the car. If they're not putting any wrenches in the back window, it's pretty straightforward how they want to do it. If they need to make adjustments in the rear of the car, then it gets a little different.
Well, we are transitioning back into the game itself now. To let you know, we only have 3 laps and you essentially clip 8 bumper cars. What's your strategy going into this race?
Well, if you only got 3 laps, there's no strategy. It's hammer down. Go to the front because you don't have much time to waste.
You don't. We've got the view exactly of what Jeffrey is seeing, and as well as, we've got our little cheat sheet here, being able to see the point of views of some other racers. He is sitting in 11th out of 15th right now, though, already almost halfway through lap 1.
Well, he didn't get the best start ever. He was a little slow on the trigger there at the drop of the green, but we'll see what he can do here. And the way they're jousting in front of him, he may just have to dodge a wreck. See? He may just have to dodge a wreck to move up a few spots.
Now, for the ones out here that are fans of video games but might not necessarily have as much knowledge on the NASCAR aspect, is there any mechanics or just strategy that the drivers are having that, not everyday fan might know?
Well, the worst place to be, according to the drivers, is in the middle of the pack. Best place to be is in the lead, because nobody's going to wreck in front of you and suck you into it. The middle of the pack is where bad things tend to happen. You can either be way back, so you have plenty of room to dodge the wrecks when they happen, or you can be way at the front, so they all happen in your rearview mirror.
It's certainly quite the cluster if you end yourself in the middle. As we can see, a little, again, these are bumper cars, so you saw the little 360 spin out, but it's not necessarily going to drive them off the track.
360 degrees and never lifted. That's a real racer in the making right there.
We are about coming through on lap 2. He's pulling up a couple positions. He's coming up on the back of the number 20 car, but is going to end up playing bumper cars.
Oh, that was a dirty move right there. That was just dirty. That's what I would have done too.
Changing it up. Now, we are looking forward to 11 a.m. when we have the real setup for NASCAR Heat Champions. They're going to have a little bit longer. So, like you said, hammer down on 3 laps. Does that strategy change with a 10-lap qualifying heat?
I think it probably does. You've got a little more time to work, but, Jeffrey's having a little problem right here because the car in front of him is running all 4 lanes at the same time. Hard to figure out how to pass a guy that's all over the... I think we should have breathalyzed him before we put him out there.
Now, you talked a lot about how, some of these racers are coming in, they've got the iRacing background, they've got that gaming background. What do you see as someone that obviously didn't grow up around the gaming and instead of that? What sort of advantages does being allowed to play an actual virtual aspect of the game give you that edge when you're actually racing behind the cars on the real track?
Well, it's all about eye-hand coordination and, eye-hand and foot coordination, because you're running gas and brakes. And it all does translate. I mean, obviously, in esports, you don't have the same seat of the pants feel. You don't have the G-forces pulling you down in the seat and pulling you over to the right in the corners. But being able to aim your car and work the gas and put your machine where you want to put it, it's the same here as it is on the racetrack.
So it looks like that winner ended up with a 2:37.556. How's that looking for a 3-lap translating over onto the track?
It's not bad.
No?
No, it's not bad. It's probably, what, 25 or 30 seconds off what the professionals are doing, but That's not bad at all.
Now, obviously, the top 15 that make it onto the finals that were today, we tracked their times. Obviously, that's how they qualified into it. The number one was 2:34.328 or something along those lines. So, you saw a lot of the qualifiers of that 2:34, between the 2:34 and then the tail end of the 2:35. Something that we talked a little bit about yesterday is obviously speed around those corners are very important. Well, on this one, they've changed the settings down, so you have a little bit of aim assist, so the car automatically slows down for it. And you could see at the very beginning as well, the way that Jeffrey's handling. He was instinctively wanting to slow down and then realized, oh, the car's already slowing down for me.
Right. The actual cars on the actual racetrack today in the Daytona 500, if they're having a good lap, they're not lifting at all. They go into the corners wide open, foot on the floor. If they need to slow down to avoid hitting the car in front of them, they keep the gas fully applied and just drag the brake a little bit, because if you lift out of the gas, you lose a ton of momentum, and it takes you a half a lap and you've lost 30 spots trying to get back up to speed. So they very rarely, if ever, lift out of the gas unless there's a major problem.
Now, going back to the 500 today, obviously there has been a lot of discussion. You've got the young blood coming up, you've got the older guys having. Are there any specific storylines that you're looking forward to seeing develop specifically on the track today?
I think we have the possibility, and not just today, but over the first few races of this season, I think there is a distinct possibility that we're going to have a little bit of a rivalry developing between some of the more established stars and these young guns. Kyle Busch kind of kicked it off during media tour back in Charlotte a couple of weeks ago, where Kyle, being as candid as Kyle is, said that NASCAR's promoting these young kids too much. They haven't won races yet. They're not established stars. They haven't won championships, and NASCAR's kind of ignoring the older guys, the more established stars, in favor of the young kids. Some of the younger guys pointed out that they're a lot more willing to promote themselves and the sport than some of the established veterans are. So I think we've got a little bit of a rivalry building there.
Do you think that translates onto the track? We had a conversation yesterday, and a big storyline possibly was some of these guys, this is their first ever Daytona 500. And with the new regulations, rules, things we just talked about, do you think that's going to allow them opportunities to maybe be a little more aggressive on the track?
I think it does. I don't know that the rules do per se or any of that, but these young kids, you know, they've got a lot on the line. If you're William Byron stepping into that 24 car, you don't want to go out there and finish 30th in your first start. You want to show people that you belong there. If you're Chase Elliott or you're Ryan Blaney, you want to cement your place as one of the new stars of the sport by going out there running well and maybe winning a Daytona 500.
Well, before that begins, we do still have Jeffrey Earnhardt racing with fans. And for those that are here watching the legendary man himself, we're going to go ahead and let you have at it and, you know, call the way that you love.
I think Jeffrey needs to put a plow on the front of that thing. He's just getting abused by these kids. My goodness, it's terrible. Okay, most of them aren't kids. Some of them know. I think they know what they're doing. I think that's exactly what's happening.
We've had young, we've had old come through and try to get their qualifying times. But now, like you're right, you've got a little bit of everybody coming on the track right now.
Jeffrey's running a good line. I mean, that's the line that you would run in the real race car on this racetrack. And again, I think his strategy comes into play here, because the way they're knocking each other around in front of him, he's going to pass a few of them the easy way.
He did just finish that second lap with 53.55, so it is a little bit slower around than what we've seen on those 46, 47 laps in the last couple of days.
Everybody's keeping it pretty clean up there too. We haven't had have we had anybody in the infield yet? I don't think we have in this race. He may have a little more difficult time catching these guys this time because they're racing clean.
He's already finishing lap number 2, coming very soon. So lap 3 right around the corner.
They're doing a pretty good job running side by side through these corners, and you can hear he's not really lifting. They're not really lifting too much off the gas. If you're coasting, you're going backwards. If you're standing still, you're going backwards. Well, now they're coming back to him a little bit. I think he's got this figured out.
Slowly moving up position by position. He only has 1 lap to go, though. He did shave 8 seconds off of that second lap, so there is a good chance that he can possibly catch up to this front pack.
Well, the first lap, he was a little bit inhibited by the fact that people were trying to put him in the grandstands. That slowed his lap time a little bit when they were knocking him off the wall. So he's got it going pretty good right now.
I mean, how many opportunities are you going to get a chance to race on a track with Jeffrey Earnhardt? So you might as well, if you're going to do it, have fun.
Most of us get no opportunities to do anything like that. So yeah, it's this is, number one, it's fun. but I can see from the look on their faces, they're kind of taking this seriously, too.
That one opportunity. He started in 11th, and now he's coming up to 3rd as you do see the checkered flag come out. That's one hell of a climb, you know, in 2 laps.
Not bad at all. If they'd have left him alone on the start, who knows what might have happened.
So we're at 2:35, 2:58 for the number 1. So again, shaving off a little more, and this is when we're getting closer to that final match that we have later on today. And this is where people are starting to, you know, figure out this is where I need to go. The lines that they may not have on the track might not necessarily be the lines that they're trying to pull here in the virtual.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That you know, what works out there today. The line will change dramatically depending on whether the sun is out or it's behind a cloud. You know, the track can cool a little bit, and that changes the handling of your race car, tightens things up a little bit. That doesn't necessarily happen here, but on the actual racetrack it will.
Well, he is going to come up himself and just sign wherever your heart may please. For those of you that are out there watching, waiting, the top 15 that did make it to that leaderboard that are going to get that opportunity to race a little bit later are not only going to get themselves that VIP package with 2 tickets to the VIP area with that free food and drink as well as that rookie racing experience, they're also going to get themselves a signed Xbox One S, a copy of the game. We've got a couple of drivers that are going to have their signature plastered all over this. So, you know, for coming on stage and playing yourself a video game, it's not a bad grand prize.
Not a bad deal at all. Absolutely not. And you get to go to the Daytona 500.
You do indeed. That starts at 2:30 Eastern.
Green flag at about 3:05.
3:05.
Yep.
It is beautiful. We took a look around the stadium the past couple days. We went to the infield, checked out all the fans, got some of that footage, be able to check the fans coming here and playing at the Esports Arena drive truck. 53-foot trailer. 35 tons drove from Los Angeles, California, all the way here to Daytona Beach.
Boy, it was worth the trip, too. People are having a blast at it. This is really cool, and this is part of the fun, isn't it, folks, of coming out to a track like Daytona. It's not just seeing the race. It's seeing everything that's going on, getting an opportunity to come up here and do something that you've never done before, and maybe get an opportunity to race in the finals.
What do you think of, obviously, you've been coming to Daytona for quite a while. Interactivity is the name of the game for us here at Esports Arena Drive. What do you feel has been, or how do you feel about this just development of interactivity on the Midway, fans coming up and really getting an opportunity to experience as much of the racing life before the race even begins?
Well, it's absolutely a necessity in this day and age. You know, back in the 1960s, early 1970s, race fans didn't expect a lot. You know, they would buy their ticket and come out and sit on a splintery wooden plank in the grandstands and maybe at halfway get a cold hot dog and a warm beer and think that was okay, and that was plenty, and it was fine. In our society now, people want more for their entertainment dollar. There's a lot of competition out there. People can do a lot of different things with their spare money and their spare time. So to come out here and have an opportunity to do things like this, to have an opportunity to see all these displays, to go into an absolute showcase facility like this one where you're, I think the furthest seat in the house is 20 steps away from a fan injector. You don't have to walk more than 20 steps up to get to any seat in this stadium, which is really phenomenal. And when we're competing against, you know, Major League Baseball and the NFL and the National Hockey League and the NBA, they're doing the same thing. So NASCAR and motorsports in general have to keep up.
And we're on year 2 of the $400 million renovation. Did you expect 30 years ago to see, you know, the Daytona International Speedway looking the way that it is?
No. When I first came here, there was absolutely nothing on the backstretch but big piles of dirt. The grandstands were fairly modest. They were very impressive for the day, but they were fairly modest at the time. It's certainly nothing like we see here.
Well, we get to see the beauty of Daytona International Speedway in person, but everyone that's getting to play NASCAR Heat 2 sees an exact replica. I talked to the game developers yesterday, and they said every time that the track institutes a change, they're bringing out camera crews, they're bringing out motion captures, and they're making sure. They even got the 5-pit crew, so if you actually check out the animations, you can see exactly what you're seeing in real life.
It really is phenomenal, you know, and I've been watching as they race around, and you know, the Sunoco Tower on the back straightaway in turn 2 that I stand on to call the race, it's exactly there. It's exactly where it is in real life. Every little ripple and bump in the racetrack seems to be exactly as it is in the real thing.
So Jeffrey has left the building. He's not racing with these riders now, but we do have some free play going on for a couple more minutes before we kick it off to a break. Now, again, you've even got the blimp. I noticed that one. Everything is down to about as close of a tee you can get. And I think that's what this immersive aspect is, what one of the most appealing things of this specific game is.
Well, the realism really is phenomenal. I mean, there's just no question about it. And you look at, the track as it appears here is the track as it appears. If you really want to know what it's like to drive a Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series car at 205 miles an hour around this racetrack, this is a really good indication of exactly what it's like.
The 2018 season update did just launch. You can find that on the Xbox Store, the PlayStation Store, as well on PC. It gives you access to all 3 Cup Series, as well as the new Chevy Camaro, which we're going to actually see on the track today.
Yeah, first time in actual points awarding competition for the new Camaro. The Chevrolet teams seem pretty happy with it. Kind of figured they would be. They don't, Chevrolet didn't spend the millions of dollars that it cost to build and engineer and get approval for a brand new body, thinking that it would be just as good as the one they had before. They want it to be better. Certainly the teams are going to learn a lot about it in the coming weeks. It'll probably be better in a month or two than it is now even, but they think it's a pretty dramatic step up from what they had before.
You've got a little bit more bump and grind than what you had in Jeffrey. You can see the number 2 car, whoever it is that's driving Keselowski, has started off in that number 3 but fell down to number 6 as he is coming up on the end of his 3rd lap.
Yeah, there's getting ready. I was going to say, there's getting ready to be a big melee here the way they're driving, that's for sure.
237, 126, so quite a few seconds off as we're getting down to the last couple free plays. And see, it's things like this that make you the most excited. You've got adults, you've got children, you've got people of all ages coming up and getting to put themselves behind the driver's seat and really race themselves a car.
I love seeing young people out at the racetrack. I attended my first race at a tiny little short track up in the Green Mountains of Vermont where I grew up. And my uncle drove an hour and a half every Thursday night to go to this little racetrack. And when I got to be 5 years old, it occurred to him that he had a perfectly workable nephew just across town, and maybe he'd drag me along. And that first night, going to the racetrack that first time, I never wanted to do anything else. And I'm still going to racetracks. So bring your kids out. Make some new NASCAR fans.
We had President of NASCAR, Brent Dewar, come by yesterday, have a little interview with us, brought his daughter and her friend along to play, and he gave us an interesting little anecdote saying that, my daughter didn't really care about what I did,
right.
President of NASCAR, and then saw her friend Joey Logano race and said, hey, he's playing this video game. Dad, I want an Xbox. He gets her an Xbox, and now she's totally invested in NASCAR. She's totally invested in the sport. You've read the reports. You've seen the demographic, and the fans of NASCAR has been lowered. And games like this, it gives you that opportunity to bridge that gap between the conventional aspect of it and the virtual aspect of here in NASCAR Heat 2.
Well, and I think that's the whole attraction of it from NASCAR's point of view, to try and cultivate new race fans. And maybe even race fans that have never actually been to a NASCAR race. There's a misconception that if you're a NASCAR fan, you have to go to the racetrack 8 times a year. You don't. You don't technically have to go to the racetrack 1 time a year. You can be a fan that sits at home and experiences our sport on television or on the radio, and still enjoy it. But this is a great way, as we've been talking about, to bring new fans into the sport.
It definitely creates an extra level of excitement, like you said. The investment from the younger fans is something that people have been searching for forever. I mean, everybody wants to find a way to make the people that actually watch it care. And I think things like this, where you can put them behind the driver's seat, you can driver see on the track, whether it be in Charlotte, whether it be in Daytona, whether you're at the Homestead, wherever it is, you get that opportunity.
It's interesting to watch. As they come up onto the stage, they're all smiling and kind of slapping each other on the back and, hey, how are you? Then they put the headset on and the smiles go away and the game face comes on, right? They're serious about it.
It's that level of energy. We're about to get into one of the last kind of messages, and I think that the big thing as well is once you get into the race, once you're actually there and you're realizing, okay, this is a little bit easier, then those faces start to lighten up a little bit.
Right. Yeah, they're petrified right now because the last thing they want to do is be upside down at the drop of the green flag and have all their buddies see them finish dead last. Once they figure, it doesn't matter where you finish as long as you're not last, right? You don't want to be last.
Something that we talk about a lot at other esports events is the impact of the LAN environment. Video games is obviously something that can happen everywhere, but when you're actually on stage, you've got the controller in your hand, you're on the set, those nerves start to kick in.
Sure, it's not quite the same as strapping into a 3,500-pound race car. But everybody's watching. That's what all these screens are for. Everybody's watching you, so you don't want to do badly.
And now we are back onto the race. We can see that number 19 car is what we're focusing on right now as we starting off with this lap number 1.
Running a pretty good line down on the double yellow line, and got 3 or 4 out in front still that got away to a good start. And that we're figuring out pretty quickly that the key to finishing well in this deal is to get a good start. Don't be in that first lap jam up and get squeezed into the outside wall and have to pass every car in the next 2.5 laps or so.
Pole position is randomized as you start this, so you're kind of hoping and hoping that the die falls in your direction as you start off on the race.
Yeah, it's always better to start up front. Third place cars using a little bit of racetrack there, but there's nothing wrong with that. And there's the battle for the lead.
We got the number 24 car sitting right behind Station 4, maxing out at that 2:01 before we're kicking on the curve.
Gave him a little, gave the leader a little help getting up the racetrack. I don't think the leader felt that it was helpful, but that'll produce a lead change, or maybe not, on the back straightaway.
As we were going through the qualifying, we talked to a lot of fans, and something that they definitely had to say was, this is as close to realistic driving as you can, so the draft is something you have to worry about as well.
Yeah, it's as close to the real thing as 99.9% of our of us normal humans will ever get. But drafting is definitely a factor in real racing. It's definitely a factor in this game as well. And you can see second place car right now, if they can stay tucked in, follow right in the tire tracks of the leader, they'll get that draft and they'll get pulled right up to the back bumper here eventually.
Second position finishes that lap at 47.715, so still kind of keeping distant. And you're right, you take a look over at the faces of these players themselves, and things are all serious, no play right now.
Yeah, game faces are on now, there's no question about that. A little further back in the pack, you can see the leaders were running a really steady line, holding it right down on that yellow line through the corners. The further you get back in the pack, the higher up the track they tend to be running, not able to hold that low line and take a nice smooth run through the corners.
Finishing up lap number 3, as you're right, we're sitting at the back of the pack. The beginnings of the back, we can see the finishes right now. They're finishing right at that 2:36 area, which is actually a fairly good time considering what we had for qualifying over the last couple days.
Right. That's not the way you want to come off turn 4 for the checkered flag, because hitting the wall there loses you a lot of momentum, and you can see cost them a spot coming down to the finish.
Another interesting aspect that a lot of these players have, and we talked to him yesterday, is the point of view. Obviously, you get the added advantage of having to see everything. You've got that camera behind the car. Right. Some of the players, as we can see on our screen, we've got that luxury. Some of them are riding in the car. They want about as immersive of an experience as possible.
I think I would want to see a little more.
You think so?
Yeah.
We can get you on there if you want on. We can throw you on with that game for sure.
I think I'm good. I don't want to embarrass myself, but yeah, it seems like with the outside the car view, you at least get a little indication when somebody's coming up either inside or outside you, which you don't necessarily get with the inside the car view.
On a scale of 1 to 10, as far as you think about point of views, because the drivers themselves, obviously, they're strapped in, they're having. Where does that rely on coming? Are they focusing more on themselves in the car, or are they relying on their spotter to let them know exactly everything that's going on?
Spotters here are crucial. The visibility, and I think a lot of people don't really know this, a lot of fans don't know this, the visibility in these race cars is not all that good. They've got a tiny little round mirror on the A pillar of the race car so that they can see to some degree if someone's inside them. They've got the rear view mirror up across the top of the windshield. But these containment seats wrap virtually around their head. So it's not, they can't turn their head to see if there's someone on the left or the right. They have to rely on that spotter, that voice in their head, telling them not only who's there, but who's coming, who's about to be there, so that they don't make that lane change at the wrong moment and trigger a crash.
It's definitely putting all of your trust, all of your faith into your staff. And I think that's something that while in the video game it's all you, that's the one of the few missing pieces that it's you think about conventional sports, it's you and 4 other players on a basketball court, you and everybody on a baseball field, but in this instance your life is in someone else's hands.
Well, that's it, and you have to put your complete and total trust in your spotter out there. If your spotter tells you that you're clear to the outside, but you don't believe him and don't make the move, you've squandered an opportunity. And if you're not going to believe what your spotter tells you, you need to get a new spotter, because it's like the left hand and the right hand. You have to know what the other one's doing.
We are gearing up for our final free play race of the day before we kick it to a short little break, and then we're going to come back for the NASCAR Heat Champions final day. And for this one, you're starting to see some supporters with they've got their jerseys, they've got their shirts. You see Chase Elliott here on the end. You've got the McDonald's all the way over there. It's definitely a very mixed crowd coming into Daytona today.
Yeah, the guys on the other end with the race team shirts, they're the serious crowd in this one, I think.
Do you think that diversity of fandom is a factor in today? Obviously, you know, we talked about the young guys, we talked about the older guys. Do you feel that growth of diversification of who individuals or fans are is a big thing?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, we as a sport cannot afford to appeal to just a narrow segment of fans. We have to appeal to everybody, young and old, male and female, you know, black, white, red, brown, and green. It doesn't matter where you come from or who you are. All it matters is that you love racing. And yeah, NASCAR wants everybody. We want everybody in the grandstands. We want everybody watching on television. It's not a white Southern sport anymore. It was for a while, but we're changing that now and changing for the better.
Taking a look here, the number 9 car is sitting 4th. You got a mini little pack of these 4 cars here at the beginning, but it's still pretty early, and the bumper cars haven't really started yet with these guys.
Yeah, there's an example of how the game has made it a little easier than it is in real life. You drive down onto the apron all the way through the corner like that gamer just did, your day is over. It'll tear the nose off the race car, and when you come back up onto the banking, somebody's going to label you pretty hard as well. But he got away with it. The game gave him a second chance here.
Now, this is the easiest settings when you do have when you are put onto the actual game settings playing for the career mode that they have developed. Those sort of things are a real factor onto it. You nick the side, you're going to get in spin out. You touch somebody. They've even got the back end regulations factored into the game. So as far as realistic goes, it's easy here. But if you go home and you play the game and you really want to experience that simulation, you can definitely do so.
You can see the front 3 in this race know what they're doing. They've done this before, and they're right down on that double yellow line, running a nice smooth line, not bobbing and weaving and darting back and forth. And you can see where the leader goes, the second place driver goes right with him to keep that draft and not have to work as hard to stay up.
It looks like we're getting a nice little visual. It's 3 laps, but it's okay. Somebody wanted to take a pit check.
Ran out of gas after a lap and a half. Got to go to pit road. Sure, why not?
Might as well. If you're going to experience, you might as well experience all of it. As now we're on the number 12 car who's sitting in first place. Actually, scratch that. They swapped back over here to the FedEx, sitting at number 1.
Now this is the final lap. This is where you don't want to make any mistakes, because when you've led the whole way, when you've led 2.5 laps, you don't want to give it away in the final half of circuit here.
We can get a little bit of a better point of view. You can see that bobbing and weaving from number 11, not wanting to let the Jimmy Johns come by.
Going to have to do something if he's in second place right now. He's going to have to do, going to try and make the move. Crossed over. Nope. Good job of blocking by the leader.
It's going to be a 2:36.425 for our last free play, and that, ladies and gentlemen, was just a taste, but it has definitely still shown a great example of what NASCAR Heat 2 really brings to the table here at Esports Arena Drive.
A lot of fun. Did you have fun, guys? You can tell the serious ones.
They're excited. They're happy. Well, guys, that was our free play. Again, thank you to Jeffrey Earnhardt that decided to come out. We've got a lot more action for you. We're going to have NASCAR Heat Champions in the qualification coming up very shortly. The grand prize that's on the line. We've got the signed Xbox One S that we're having right here. Jeffrey already got himself a signature. We're going to have a couple other drivers sign their John Hancock for everybody. We've got a copy of the game, 2 VIP tickets to the big race itself, and also that NASCAR Rookie Experience. Retail value $600. You're going to get a chance to speak with the crew chief and get yourself that 8-minute speed test. And that's an experience you're familiar with. Plenty of fans having that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That'll be fun. This is great. I love this. I love the big screen so that people all over can see it and hear it, and that they got a chance to come up here and try it. That's the best part of all.
Well, we're going to catch ourselves some water and a little bit of shade. We're going to let everybody take a little bit of a break. And when we come back, it's going to be NASCAR Heat Champions and the grand finale. This is Daytona. Our drivers have arrived. Competition has been fierce. But only 15 remain. The race to the finish line starts now. take it. It's beautiful, it's sunny, but more importantly, it's hot here in Daytona Beach, Florida. How is everybody doing? We're here at the Daytona International Speedway, the 60th anniversary of the most majestic race in all of American history, the Daytona 500. Welcome, everyone. My name is Bill Carter. I'm joined here by the legendary Dave Moody. How are we feeling, man?
Oh, I'm psyched. It's a beautiful day for racing. 60th annual renewal of the race they call the Great American Race. And we're going to have some fun here in advance of the main event.
We're going to have a lot of fun here at Esports Arena Drive. Over the last 2 days, we've had multiple people come up. Over 430 participants have signed up to try their hand to get themselves to today, Championship Sunday. We've got the top 15 leaderboard, the top 15 times over that last couple of days. But for a closer look on what's transpired, let's check it out.
I just played NASCAR Heat 2, and I won. Really, it's just holding the stick steady. You got to keep it straight and go fast.
Because they're staying in line, they're maximizing their speed, they're not trying to pass. You don't want to go for that pass until you get on the last lap.
They just ruined my time. I won my heat, so it was pretty awesome. I drafted whoever was Brad Keselowski. I waited until my move at the very end and snuck past him and led the last lap, and that's all that matters.
They're staying in line, they're maximizing their speed, they're not trying to pass. You don't want to go for that pass until you get on the last lap.
22 can't even stay straight. God, almost had him. Yeah, I enjoy playing NASCAR games, and it's the first time I played NASCAR Heat and really enjoyed it. I did good, I won, but I'm 3/10 off, so I was Kyle Busch in the race. I think that made me really good.
Moody is here with us today. It's her first race. I want to know how to beat my daughter in this game because she beats me every single time.
I did good. My back approach wheel was really fast today. Nothing to complain about. Good air out there. Easy to turn. It's a good race.
Wow, doing the old lawnmower down there.
I don't even know how to play this game.
2:35, 3:28, the time to beat. Oh, and Logano pushing from behind, giving Kyle the big push there.
It has been a very long and a very gruesome battle to get themselves to today, but we are finally down to those top 15 on that leaderboard. We're going to introduce them and bring them on stage here. We've got a little bit of a crowd. Daytona, are you guys excited for today? That's what we wanted to hear. So we're going to bring these guys on stage. First up, we've got Terry Mitchell coming onto the stage. Going to be in that 15. Tyler Mullins. We got Ralph Pittman. Thomas Murphy. Jared Alcanero. Seth Rawls. Cameron Alcanero. Marcus Cavender. Brandon Hamby. Caleb Boykin. Braxton Parrish. Jacob Bell. Noah Leonard. Drake Herman. And then our final introduction is the #1 on the leaderboard for the last couple days. It's going to be Mr. Adam Rowe. And we're going to bring Adam over here for a short, quick little interview. How you feeling today, man?
Pretty good.
Over the last couple days, it has been a battle. How many times did it take you to get where you're at today? How many times did you come up and race?
A lot.
start, but I set the time early, so I think it was on Friday.
That's definitely important for you. Now, final question before we let you get to your station. Any sort of strategy or insight on what you're going to accomplish over the next 3 heats?
Not really. Just go fast, try to set a fast lap, finish first.
You heard it there first, guys. Well, go ahead and take your station. We've got one more individual to introduce for you. It's going to be Mr. Todd Gilliland. Want to bring him out for everybody. Might be a familiar face that we've seen before. How are you feeling today, sir?
Feels good, man. It's the Daytona 500, great weather. I'm just looking forward to it.
Now, obviously, you've been out there before. What's your thoughts on coming here to Esports Arena Drive and getting to see the virtual experience in the actual game?
It's awesome. You know, my favorite thing about racing is the competitiveness, and you get that same feeling right here. So it's going to be cool to watch, and we'll see who gets this done.
Well, we have given you that title of the honorary Grand Marshal, and I think that there's a pretty important line that people like to say that I think you're going to have the honor to do so. So, after you.
Drivers, start your engines.
Now, Dave, we did a little bit of commentary earlier. They only had 3 laps. Like you said, it pretty much ends up where you start with 10 laps now that you've gotten a little bit better handle on what's exactly going on. Any difference in strategy that we're going to be seeing these guys pull out?
Well, you've got a little more time, which means you can be a little more patient, maybe a little less aggressive in the early going. Although I still think the key is going to be, as we saw in the qualifiers, not get caught up in a wreck right at the drop of the green flag when everybody's bunched up together, and it's really easy to get put up into the wall or spun down into the infield, and you're a half a lap behind before the race is even underway.
For sure. Now, for those of you that are unaware of what exactly is happening here, this is Esports Arena Drive. We are at NASCAR Heat Champions for the Championship Sunday. The format that these players are going to be having, it's 3 total races, 10 laps apiece. Each prior race allows or pushes you to pole position for that final race. So that adds an extra strategy as well. First lap, you might finish 4th or 5th. That pushes you up, gives you a chance to get a little bit higher for that heat number 2. And then the final heat at the very end potentially could put you in that front side of the pack, like you said, to get you out of the midst of the struggle.
Being a little further back in the pack and being able to catch a draft off a car that's a little bit in front of you, reel them in, will actually give you a quicker lap time than the car in front of you. So that might be a good strategy once you know that you're going to advance on into the final.
Something that they talk about, that you talk about a lot on the actual track, is getting help from teammates, getting help from those around you. Well, we've got the names in front of us, and we've got 2 brothers that are actually racing today at that 9 and 11 position. We've got Cameron and Jared Alcanero. That could potentially be a factor. Hey, you win, you and your brother, you get to go. So at that point, you're trying to help each other out.
Yeah, I don't know if they're like my brother and I are. My brother and I would be more likely to wreck each other than work together. I don't know how you boys are, but we'll find out. They'll take it easy on each other unless they're coming down side by side for the win. Then I think all bets are off.
For sure. We're getting a nice little view of Daytona International Speedway, not from the track, but from the game itself, as we're going to start heat number 1. Right early, we're getting knowledge of the back of the pack. You might as well start at the top, that position number 15, that Arias car number 19, starting off strong.
And it's like we talked about, they've done a pretty good job of getting away cleanly here. Nobody getting all piled up and tangled up with each other at the start of the race. So nobody's out of this at this point. Everybody's in the hunt, just trying to get settled in. And you can see the cars all trying to make their way to the bottom. The short way around appears to be the fast way around.
Braxton Parrish is sitting in that number 3 spot, station 5, as you can see on your screen. The number 12 car is going to try to pull up, but like we said, they've got 10 laps, so we've got a little bit of time to see how they're going to pull themselves out and what lines they're going to try to run to get themselves some better positions.
And you can see these guys are all pretty good at this because their cars are holding a very steady line, not doing a lot of bobbing and weaving, not a lot of back and forth, just hugging that double yellow line and trying to run the short way around. And if the guy in front of you goes a little high, you can either try and pass him on the inside, or you can go with him and try and catch a draft and get a run on the backstretch.
Parrish pushes himself to number 1, but it looks like Mitchell is doing everything he can to stay. But that number 12 car that we just saw is starting to pull themselves up.
This is pretty good racing right now, and you can see there's the bump that will help you go faster. It helps the lead guy go faster. It also helps the second place guy go faster. And if they can stay hooked up together that way, and they're doing a pretty good job of it, they're going to turn some good lap times here.
Some interesting things to note as well. These are, if I'm not mistaken, the correct schemes for the paint schemes that you're going to see later on today in the race. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Carbon copies of what you'll see in the race here today. They're getting a little feisty back in the pack. You can see as this race begins to move on into its middle stages, the guys that are outside that top 3, 4, or 5, they got to start doing something serious to get themselves into contention.
Seth Rawls sitting at number 7 on that number 2 car. They're starting to figure it out. You can see, obviously, the pack moves as a unit on the actual racetrack, and that's something very similar to what we're seeing here in the game.
They're all running a pretty well single file at this moment as they race down the back straightaway. Front group beginning to move away just a little bit, and that second group of traffic, they're going to have to get in line, use the draft, and you can see, as long as they hold the bottom of the racetrack and work together, they can close right back up again on that lead draft.
Noah Leonard sitting at position number 4. Again, the position finishes at heat number 1 gives you the opportunity to get a little bit further in the race as we have heat number 2 and 3. Finishing up lap number 3 coming around for lap number 4.
Now we can see they're taking a little peek to the inside. So far they've been fairly patient. Not a lot of rooting and gouging right now. That's going to change. As we get down to about 2 to go, the guys that are not where they want to be in terms of being up front in this pack are going to have to start doing some more.
And we saw it in the free play earlier. The settings have changed. You nick somebody on the track, you're going to go spinning. But here, you can play little bumper cars with the rail as well as those other cars.
We saw in one of the qualifiers a little earlier, somebody missed the groove and went way down onto the apron. If you do that in a real race car, you've got no more race car. It's a gigantic pileup, but he got away with it, kept right on going.
Tyler Mullins pulled himself up to that position number 7, so he's starting to make some headways. We can see the number 19 car at 4th, just behind Marcus Cavender.
And now it's starting to get a little interesting because they're beginning to move out, break out of that single file line and try and make some moves toward the front of the pack. If you're going to pull out like that, you better have somebody to go with you. 2 cars can make that work. 1 car by itself, not going to work at all. And you can see what happens here. That car got trapped in the outside lane all by itself, and now he's getting shuffled to the back.
As we are finishing, or starting to get up to the second half of this 10-lap race, we're starting to see these cars start to get themselves a little squirrely. They don't really want to push anybody too far back on that draft.
You can see that the low line is definitely the place to be. The guy in front of you makes a little mistake and gets up the banking, or if you can help him get up the banking with your front bumper, that opens up that low line and you can pick up a spot.
Parrish has stayed in the box position throughout the entirety of the race thus far. He's sitting at number 2 right now. Only 4 laps to go. Could be an opportunity for him to kick into the lead.
Let's see what happens here. A little peek to the inside, loosened him up a little bit, some contact, and that could have taken both of them out right there.
Jacob Bell sitting pretty handily in that number 1 spot, but now is where people are starting to make their moves. You've got about 4 laps remaining, and we're seeing 6 cars now on that front side of the pack.
Now it's getting serious. They can't just follow each other any longer. If you're back in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th position, you're not going to make all those passes just by riding in single file. So now it's going to get serious. Now the bumpers and fenders will come into play.
We're going to have Marcus Cavender sitting at number 2, trying to make that last push. He's going to get a little bit of bump on the outside as we come into lap number 7.
Now this is side by side now for the number 1 spot. Cavender is up high, but he doesn't have the drafting help, and that's going to cost him the number 2 position. May cost him 3rd now.
You've got Cavender, Bell, and Leonard pushing for that top 3, but it doesn't mean that there aren't very many more right behind. You can see Parrish sitting at number 4. They're going to be trying to push 2-3 laps to go. Not much time left.
And you can see what happened to Marcus Cavender. He tried to make that outside move. Nobody went with him, didn't have the drafting help, lost 3-4 positions, and was finally able to make his way back into line.
Noah Leonard sitting very hefty at number 3. He's trying to ride those coattails of the number 1 position about as closely as he can, looking to hopefully make a move on this next big turn.
Well, we're getting late now, and the moves are going to have to be made, and you have to hope if you're riding back in 2nd, 3rd, or 4th position that when you do pull out a line and make your move on the last lap or the next to last lap, that somebody behind you will go with you. If they don't, you're going to see just what happened to Marcus Cavender.
Leonard and Bell have been bouncing back and forth, but it is going to be Jacob Bell that is sitting very, very comfortably in that lead. Every opportunity that you see Leonard trying to push around and get behind, Bell is counteracting just that.
Well, he's running a very good line. That car hasn't varied more than a couple of feet off the bottom. Although, as we say that, he got a little bit wobbly going into the corner. Gets it straightened out, though, and hangs on at the front of the pack.
Braxton Parrish sitting at number 4 as we come up on lap number 9. 2 laps to go in the first heat.
2 laps to go, and this is where people are going to have to start making moves. 3 wide for a moment coming down the front straightaway. Back to 2 wide now. Cavender's trying to make his way back up there. Give him some credit. He is not content to just ride in line. He's trying everything and anything to get back to the front of this thing.
And Terry Mitchell has been creeping ever so closely. He started at the number 8 position. Now he's pushing himself up to number 4, hoping to make a move very quickly.
He's going to take a peek down to the inside, has a fender to the low line, and he's going to pick up a spot there. So Cavender is back up into the number 4 position, but time is getting short now.
Coming up on the final lap, and if the time was ever available, the time is definitely now to make that final move on the last lap of the first heat.
Well, if you've got a move that you haven't tried yet, now is the time. Any weapon at your disposal to try to get where you need to be, and we'll keep an eye on that lead pair, the top 3, top 4. They're all in contention and in striking distance right now.
You have to be careful. They aren't controllers, so you could get a little elbow nudge or something standing next to somebody to give yourself just enough an advantage. You've got Jacob Bell still sitting at that number 1 slot as we're getting ever so closer to the end of the first heat.
They're going to have to make a move now if they're going to try and take this lead away. And there's the move to the outside. Leader tries to block, a little bit of contact, and they're back to single file.
You can see that number 20 car. He's sitting very happy, and you can see on your screens for our player point of views, we saw it earlier, happy, excited coming on stage. Now, nothing but the serious face.
Well, this is about the best case scenario for the leaders. They come down, he's led flag to flag, not quite there yet. They challenge on the outside, but he'll cross that checkered flag line and take down the win.
And you're going to see the 3-2, or the 1-2-3. It's going to be Jacob Bell taking that number 1 spot with Leonard and then Parrish to follow. So they had the 3-4-5 position at the beginning. That changed to the 4-3-5. So already we're seeing how important it is to be up at that front at the very beginning of the race.
Wow, Jacob Bell did a nice job there, and he brought the family with him. He's got a fan club out there.
Yeah, you can see the hoops, you can see the hollerins. We're going to get ready. We're going to take a little break before number 2. But of course, we are here at Daytona International Speedway. You've got to do some calls on the big track very soon, so we're going to let you go. Any last words before you take a break and head on to the real job?
Got to tell you, I'm impressed with these guys and gals. They've done a tremendous job. They race hard, and be interested to see who comes out on top when it's all over.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. Dave Moody, everyone, from MRN. Let's give a hoop and a holler for him coming and hanging out with us. We're going to take a short break. We're going to bring Alex Hayden, another familiar voice, onto the desk before we start Heat 2. But for right now, we'll see you guys in a second. Daytona International Speedway here in Daytona Beach, Florida. It has been a gorgeous day for racing and a gorgeous day for racing here at Esports Arena Drive. We just finished heat number 1, and it was quite the spicy when Dave Moody was joining us. But now we've got another face. As Dave Moody said, the last one to know it when the rain delay happens.
That's right. That would be something Dave Moody would say. Alex Hayden, MRN, it's because I'm vertically challenged, and you guys can see that right now.
It doesn't help that I'm 6'6", obviously.
No, but I'm not. So, and we just did the obligatory selfie here, and you had to bend. It's either find a chair or you bend down.
As my grandmother said, it doesn't matter how old she gets, she'll stand on a stepladder just to beat my tail.
That's right.
Now, Daytona 500, you said 22 years.
Yes.
What do you think of this being the 60th anniversary of the big race itself?
It's spectacular. And who would have thought 60 years ago it would have grown into what we have right now? We have, obviously, 704 games for the NASCAR Heat Championship starting right here at the World Center of Racing. And this motorsports stadium that we have here that is the Daytona International Speedway, it's spectacular. 60 years of the great American race, and why not? I look forward to 60 more years.
We had Jeffrey Earnhardt come by, play with some fans. Todd Gillian was our honorary ground marshal here. What are your thoughts on bringing an esports and a gaming experience like this to the Midway at a place such as spectacular and historic as Daytona?
My initial thought is what took so long? Because this is spectacular, and NASCAR Heat 2, I play it. I do. I have it at home. I play it, and believe me, I get mad just like everybody else gets mad, and then I win, and I celebrate like everybody else. I think it's relevant. It's what we need to have. because this is what people are doing now. This is it. And to be able to get out and run on something, this game is so spectacular and so detailed and so good that it's a realistic experience that we have out here. And I've talked to a lot of drivers. We had some fun last Saturday night after they did the draw in the fan zone for the starting lineup for the Advanced Auto Parts Clash. And we had some drivers. We had Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, Kurt Busch, Austin Dillon come up on stage, and we were racing with some of the fans in the fan zone last Saturday night. It was a huge success. So I think it's spectacular.
And you know, you might have some of those fans that are getting a little too old to walk up to some of the grandstands. We've had every age demographic, male, female, you know, everybody come out and try and play the game. And I think that's important as well. It doesn't matter who you are, you can hop on a controller and play with the rest of them.
Yeah, you don't have to be a world-class athlete. You don't have to be Jimmy Johnson where you're going to get out and ride your bike 60 miles before the Daytona 500. You get out, you just have to get from the bed to the recliner or the couch, and you're in good shape.
Now, we just had heat number 1 concluded. It was Jacob Bell that took that number 1 spot. The positions of finish for the heat number 1 is going to give you that next pole position for race number 2, moving on to the final heat number 3. As you can see, the simulated Daytona International Speedway itself. But it looks like, Alex, it's time to get some calls.
It is indeed. We're running the great Daytona International Speedway. 15 drivers, green flag in the air, and we're racing. Time to pick a favorite. You get an idea immediately just how realistic this game is. Up-to-date paint schemes, up-to-date sponsors, and even the yellow rookie tape for Bubba Wallace there.
We saw the last match that it was very close. You obviously, normal racing, you want to stay in that front of the pack. You don't want to end up being in the middle. But a place like this, we've got the settings turned down. You can play a little bit of bumper cars and have some fun.
Sometimes you have to be the fullback and bust through the hole, and that's what we're seeing right now. Good, hard racing. A 10-lap race, obviously the beating and banging, it's going to take place. On the start of these races, you have to establish yourself. You have to get your track position. We switched cameras now. Great run now at the front of the field. Looks like we got ourselves a draft that's beginning to form. If these front 3 can now stay in line and ride together for a little while, they're going to have some success while everybody else is running double wide.
Thomas Murphy started number 14 at the beginning of heat number 1. He's now pulled himself up to the number 2 position. So already seeing that it doesn't matter who you are, where you started, there's an opportunity to get yourself ahead.
Running in the draft, again, if you stick your nose out, that's all fine, well, and good. But just like what we're going to see today in the Great American Race, you better have some help. That's how realistic NASCAR Heat 2 is. So good 5-car draft run at the bottom of the racetrack. A little bit different here, unlike the real thing. You can go below the double yellow line here.
You can indeed.
And it's not encouraged.
It's definitely not encouraged nor condoned, but it definitely can happen. And you've also got the settings changed, so you've got that curve assist, that turn assist on. So the cars are going to automatically slow themselves down a little bit. So by all intents and purposes, that brake button does not exist.
Absolutely. And why would you need the brake out here? Let's go. Let's race. Again, good, hard draft. I'm impressed with what everybody's doing right now. The focus is definitely there. You see it in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. The good, hard focus, how they're paying attention to this. It's a great event, and there's a lot on the line today.
There is indeed. The grand prize is going to get not only a signed Xbox One S, we've already got Dave Moody and Jeffrey Earnhardt's signature up here, but we're going to have a couple more races. We'll get your signature up here, Alex. You can put it on, and then not only that, but you get 2 VIP tickets to the big race itself, as well as that rookie racing experience, which I know is something that a lot of fans really enjoy.
Absolutely. Anytime you get a chance to actually strap inside of a real race car and get that real experience, it's going to go a long way, and you're going to get a real true appreciation for what these athletes do in NASCAR racing. That experience will help you, and it will translate to the video game too, because you'll have an idea on whatever racetrack you're at, just how that track is.
We can see the number 3 spot just finished with a 46.34. So staying along the same thing that we've had over the weekend between a 45 and a 47 lap time, as we are still getting closer to that first end of the first 50% here in the race.
Working lap number 4 out of the 10.
Brandon Hamby sitting at number 2, riding that number 10 car, trying to get real close to that leader.
Nice little bump. You're going to have that. Speeds here on the game, as we saw, about 202 down the backstretch. Very realistic. Once again, strong effort.
You talked a lot about how help, obviously something that is very important on the big track, could play out here. We've got brothers actually racing against each other. We've got Jared and Cameron Alcanera. Now, Dave said if his brother was playing, he'd be pretty much just trying to take him out. Would you feel the same sentiment?
Oh, my brother would be in the grandstands watching this thing with his race car. But that's part of the charm, and that's part of the fun here. Nice, strong move. You got to have somebody make the block out there. Seth Rawls right now showing the way. He's driving the 2 car, keeping it planted, and he's doing a nice job of just keeping that car at the bottom of the racetrack. If you're going to pass, that's the way I do it too. If you're going to pass me, you better go the long way around the track.
You're definitely going to be bumping and grinding. It has been a very comfortable lead for Seth Rollins. We can see the number 43 car was sitting at number 3. Now he fell all the way to the back of the pack. Settings are down, but that doesn't mean one hit to the wall and you're going to find yourself near the end.
You cannot afford to break your momentum. When you have Big Mo on your side, everything's in good shape. You break your momentum, you're going to go to the back. We just saw that happen. Here we are with the battle for the race lead. Oh, it's getting physical at the front of the field.
Noah Leonard finished himself number 2 in the first heat, is finding himself now. And there, we had the 3-4 car race at the front of the pack, but now that has expanded itself to a 6-car race with only 4 laps to go.
Brandon Hamby got physical and took over the top spot and just gave the old hip check, if you will, hockey term. Hip check moved him out of the way, and Brandon Hamby in the 10 car goes to the front of the field, working lap 6 of 10.
There's someone that we haven't seen too much of. Adam Rowe finished at the number 1 pole position coming into the heat. He got that first position. Now he was sitting at the back, but he's pulled himself to number 5 as we're finishing lap 6, heading on to turn 7.
Here we come down the tri-oval. You see the shadows. Again, it's such a realistic game. The shadows are there. We're going to have that in today's Daytona 500 by the time we get to the second half of the race. Good 3-car draft again. Right now, Noah Leonard, he's looked outside, looked inside. He's in the orange car, second place.
And these paint schemes are beautiful. Like we said, exact carbon copy of what you're seeing on the track. They released them a little while ago, and they are gleaming in this artificial sunlight that we have.
And that's what I love about 704 games. That's what I love about NASCAR Heat 2. They keep everything current. They keep everything up to date, and that's what makes it enjoyable in the experience all the way across the board. Oh, little sideways, nice save.
Braxton Parrish finished himself I believe it was number 3 in that first setup, and he's sitting at number 4 with finishing up on that 7th lap. And another thing that they talked about when you think about the realism is, I got a chance to talk to Ed Mullen, one of the designers for the game, and he said that the second that the pit crew changes went through, they were running simulations. They had people dragged up in their motion sensors, and they're practicing, and they're trying to do their best to really emulate as close of a possible as the real experience in this game.
Challenge and change for the second spot right now. Still leading the way is Brandon Hamby in the 10 car. Brandon Hamby right on the, I tell you, somebody's knocking on the back door, and you know he's looking in the mirror, just like you do out here on the racetrack. Even though you're leading and you got a clean view out the front to windshield, you better be paying attention to who's knocking at the back door. See if he gives him a little shot in the caboose to move him out of the way off 4. So far, I guess it's a little early. Not gonna get physical just yet. Working lap 8 of 10. Now we go to lap number 9. 2 laps to go. 2 to go.
46.383 for that number 2 position, that Bass Pro car. And here we're going to get a look more closer to the middle of the pack. Not 40 cars on the racetrack. We've only got 15 today as we're looking at that number 8 position. That Camaro, number 40, the Camaro, first time getting it shown on an actual match here, as well as itself on the track in the game.
Clearly, the Camaro is very realistic. Brandon Parrish, you see him driving the 78 car in second, takes a peek to the inside. Nothing there. We'll see if he makes the move coming out. We're coming to what will be the white flag. White flag coming to the tri-oval this time by.
You still got Brandon Hamby that's getting himself in the lead. Like we saw, a lot of the people that were in the beginning or in the front for the Heat 2 have definitely floated themselves towards the back. It is going to be the final lap, and if time to make a move, it's now.
Here it is. Oh, gets into the left rear corner. Nice save by Hamby. Hangs on to the race lead. Final lap.
Position number 2, we can see.
Challenge going to the inside, and it's going to be Adam Rowe that takes over second. It's going to have some assist in the form of Jacob Bell that moves along there.
Jacob Bell finished number 1 in heat number 1, and now it is time for him to try to keep himself towards that front because the final heat is coming up right after this. We can see position 5. Hamby has still keeping himself. He's doing everything he can. If it's the bumper cars, it's fine. He's going to do what it takes to make sure on this final curve, he's getting himself that checkered flag.
Off turn 4, headed to the checkered flag in the tri-oval, trying to pull away. It will be Brandon Hamby that will win this race. He held on, he was nudged, and he moved around quite a bit. Brandon Hamby with a great job of car control. He was able to hang on and pick up the checkered flag and will advance.
It goes Hamby and then Rowe and then Jacob Bell for those first 3. So those are going to be 3 that we really need to look out for that final heat. And it was a lot different than what we had in the first. They were bumping, they were bumping, they were grinding, they were really, like you said, that fullback style, just trying to push themselves through. But here, It was a lot more of, let's be more precise with our turns. Let's make sure that we're getting the line that we want to hit to really push ourselves for a much better score.
You have to be smooth. And even though, as you mentioned, the settings on the game are turned down just a touch, they still penalize you. If you get into the fence, it's going to slow you down just a bit and break that valuable momentum. Nice job by everybody just keeping the car in a nice straight line, working the draft, and being able to pull that out. That was a solid run.
Heat number 3 is coming up next. All the marbles, the grand prize that we just talked about. Do you see any specific strategies that might need to change coming into that championship heat?
Much like what we're going to see today in the Daytona 500, the strategy is going to be keep the car pointed in the right direction. You can't afford to get washed up the racetrack. We know there's going to be contact. That's going to happen. You're going to have to live with that. I wouldn't be at all surprised somebody running about 4th, 5th, or 6th in line with a lap or a lap and a half to go. They may come out of this thing with the win because with everything on the line, with such a great prize package, to be able to get access down to the clubs down here in the infield at the Daytona.
The Harley Jays. They're going to have free food and drink the whole race. You can enjoy.
Are you kidding me? It's a beautiful day in Daytona Beach. You need to keep yourself hydrated. Come on, free food and drink. So there's such a great prize pack on the line. If I'm leading this thing on the backstretch, I'm a little concerned. I have to be honest with you because there's a pretty good chance you're not going to be leading by the time you come off turn 4.
Well, it's definitely hot. We're sweating out here. Those hands are going to be sweating on that controller. Heat number 3 is coming up real soon. Fans from all over the country have come to the Daytona International Speedway for Speed Weeks, but more importantly, today's 60th anniversary running of the Daytona 500. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Carter joined by MRN, Mr. Alex Hayden himself. It's been a fun day, my friend.
It has been, and it's only going to get better because we've got the main event coming up here at the Esports Day. It's going to be fantastic, but we got another heat to run.
We do indeed, and just to give you guys a fun little visual, you've seen the Xbox. It's signed. Alex threw his signature on the break. We've got a copy, a Xbox One copy of NASCAR Heat 2, but more importantly, we just got the real fun stuff.
This is the big dog stuff right here. These are the passes to the Harley J Club. And if you don't know what the Harley J Club is, think about the most plush, best seat in the house, all you can eat, all you can drink experience. The winner today will get all of this, and have that access in the infield here, right there.
And they get to bring somebody with them. We've seen some parents out. I know mom and dad are going to be arguing to see which of their kid or which of them their kid's going to bring.
I'm trying to be nice to everybody. I'm on pit road today for the Daytona 500 where it's going to be high, and nobody's complaining about clear skies and 85 degrees today, but it wouldn't hurt to just slip in there and have an ice cold drink.
It is. For those of you that are watching on Twitch at home, it is going to be a signed Xbox One S. We've got Jeffrey Earnhardt, Dave Moody, Alex Hayden. We're going to have a couple others that are going to be there for the winners. Premium tickets, like we said, 2 tickets to Harley J's. Beautiful seats. We took a look at it with the media yesterday. It's fantastic. Going to have unlimited food and drink. But also, to tail end of it, that NASCAR rookie experience, which, as you were talking about earlier, is definitely something that if you're a NASCAR fan, you'd certainly enjoy.
Anytime you get a chance to strap behind the race car, get inside of it and get an experience unlike anything else, it is well worth it, no question about it. So when you get the helmet on, the fire suit, the Hans device, you get the seatbelts pulled down tight, it's a fantastic deal, and that's just part of it, and that's how big this is.
Well, Alex, it's the moment I know everybody out in the crowd's waiting for. I know it's everybody that's holding those controllers are waiting for. It's about that time to get started with heat number 3. We talked about a little bit earlier. Heat 3 might be a little different than the first 2. We saw a little bit of aggression in the first one. People kind of, let off that aggressive, played the lines, tried to get better times. We got a whole new ballgame for all the marbles.
Well, and the cool thing about it, too, with this experience is everything is the same. Everybody has the same headphones. They have the same controller, so you don't get to bring your controller from home that you've got all...
You might get to elbow the guy next to you.
You got to do what you got to do sometimes. You really do. But the focus is spectacular, and we're getting close to starting this heat race to get things going.
Again, the last 2 days have come down to this. Heat number 3 of NASCAR Heat Champions. The winner take all. There's no second, there's no third. All you have to do is win. Coming in, number 88 car, looking like familiar for that beginning spot.
It is, at the front of the field right off the bat. That's Tyler Mullins. He's got the lead, headed off to turn 1 at Daytona. The shadows will come into play. He's going to be, Little twitchy there, moving up into turn number 1 as they come up to full speed. 178 to 180 miles an hour. The cars, it's just like the real thing. They have to come up to full speed with the restrictor plate engines on this game.
We can see the middle of the pack already. Adam Rowe, who finished number 2 in heat number 2, as well as number 1 on the leaderboards throughout the first 2 days, falling near towards that end. And here's where we're starting to see that realism aspect of NASCAR. Everybody following in a line on the curve, everybody staying in the pack, and finding their hole to jump.
It is lap number 1 about to be complete. 10 laps. 10 laps is all you get. That seems like a long time when you're playing, but it really isn't. You better make your moves. Again, 15 cars in this race. If you're back around 13, 14, 15, you don't have time to ride right now. You've got to get out there and get going.
Braxton Parrish was at the front of the leaderboards in heat number 1. He's sitting at number 2 right now, right behind Tyler Mullins. And like you said, you don't have a lot of laps. We've been seeing everything from a 45-second lap all the way up to a 51. We could see the number 3 pulled that 51. But as you get a little bit deeper and you're not bumping those first couple turns, you're really going to find yourself in a good time.
Battle for the number 3 position beginning. They bang off of one on each other in turn number 3. That's going to enable the front 2. If the front 2 can stay single file, they would have an opportunity. Strong effort there, though, by Noah Leonard. Noah Leonard's driving the 19 car, the bright orange Aris car. He's going to go for the lead. We've got trouble. Trouble at the tri-oval. Cars spinning all over the place on lap number 2's conclusion. That's going to create some chaos and some hurt feelings, maybe a little frustration here.
And look who came out on top. That Suarez car, number 19, is going to pull himself into that lead position. That was one crazy. We saw a lot of those yesterday. Just can happen just the same here on the virtual simulator.
But Noah Leonard was not able to get away. Even though there was a bit of a crash there, he wasn't able to get away because he's got him breathing down his back bumper again right now.
As we're coming across the end of lap number 3. That's going to be 30% of the race finished. Only 7 laps to go. This is for all the marbles. There is no more chances. You either go hard here or you go home. 46.8 on that leading wrap.
Noah Leonard, the leader.
And I think we actually have a replay of that final wreck. That's going to give us a good opportunity to see exactly what it is that happened. It was quite an interesting one. We took a look at the front, and then
we're back live here down the backstretch. Trust us, they wrecked.
They did.
They did wreck.
I promise you, there was definitely a wreck.
Here we go. Protect the bottom. That's what you have to do if you're the leader, and Noah Leonard's doing a great job of that because the Daytona Superstretch is where the momentum gets built up. That's where you get the big run. If you lag back a couple of car lengths off turn 2, by the time you get 3/4 of the way down the Daytona Superstretch, you're going to be able to pull right up on him. The key, though, is if you go to the bottom, you better make it work, and you better make it work quickly because once we get to the 31 degrees of banking of turn 3, if you're on the flat, if you're on the apron, you're in all kinds of trouble. And you're going to get the run, you better go high. And if you're leading, you better block.
All right, let's try this again. We've got the replay up for you to show a little bit of what happened in that first wreck. You can see that number 12 car flipping and getting, and then, right to those pits. Going to end up falling, and that's going to put him in a pretty detrimental position going forward.
Yeah, he's going to need the front cars to have a big old problem himself for him to be able to catch up. But hey, I like the patience right now. I like what Noah Leonard is doing as the race leader in the Aris Toyota, the 19 car. Hug the double yellow lines. It better take a stick of dynamite to move him off the bottom of the racetrack right now. He's got to know, though, he's going to get that back bumper absolutely peppered lap after lap after lap. It's going to come down to car control because right now it's Braxton Parrish driving the 78 car. He's gotten moved up the racetrack in turn 1.
And you have seen throughout the entirety of all 3 heats, Braxton Parrish has pushed with only 4 laps to go. He's going to have to find a way to find himself a good hole and get himself to that number 1 spot.
Now up in the 2nd spot is Caleb Boykin. Caleb Boykin going for the lead on the outside. That's what we were just talking about a lap ago. You're going to get the run down the backstretch. You know the bottom of the track's going to be blocked. You better make a move to the outside and hope you can fake him out to move up to block the outside and dive back down the bottom.
Finishing up at the oval, that's going to be lap number 6. 3 laps to go. Stands between Noah Leonard and that grand prize.
4 to go. 4 laps to go. They just completed lap 6.
Math is hard sometimes. It's hot outside, right?
It is. It is. And believe me, I know my solar panel on the back of my head right now, it makes it a little more difficult. That's the bald spot. Oh, good pass. Good pass. He fought him off. We got 2 cars at the front of the field that are working hard. It's Caleb Boykin in the Jimmy John's Ford right now, running in the 2nd spot. Noah Leonard in the orange Toyota leading the way, and a good, strong run once again going into turn 3.
We can see Parrish is trying to find himself an angle, but it's not looking like work. He's going to have to try to do everything, but as you can see, Boykin, oh, he's got the inside position.
You can't afford to get off the bottom of the racetrack. That's what happened. You wiggle just enough, make a minor mistake, and you can be in some trouble. And there's the mistake right now by Noah Leonard up across the tri-oval. I can tell you, the cars, even on the video game, it's so realistic. Once you transition, especially at the tri-oval, back to the flat to run towards turn 1, the back of the car gets very light, and then the back, that causes the back to dance, and then you're fighting and swatting flies inside there.
Oh, got a little bit of a clip on that back right in there. Parrish, hey, if you're going to do it, you got to find a way.
Here's Boykin. He's going to look to the inside in the challenge for second. That was quickly closed off by Braxton Parrish in the 2nd place car.
As we're getting ever so closer, lap number 8 is finishing. Now it's 2 laps to go. Math is working for me now.
We got ourselves a 3-horse race right now. Everybody here at the Daytona International Speedway, time for you to pick a favorite. 2 laps to go at Daytona.
We've got number 5. It is that Braxton Parrish. He has been doing everything he can.
We got the draft, which is running a lot faster than when you're running by yourself. We got a slower car right in front of the lead draft on the backstretch. This could be a pivotal point in the race.
Ooh, just enough of a clip, just enough of an angle, and that could create an opportunity for somebody else to pull out ahead. You can see that car not wanting to play nice. Oh!
Nice job, nice save. He's able to hang on to it. Noah Leonard got door slammed, but kept his finger on the throttle and kept going. Still running 2nd. Braxton Parrish running in the 2nd spot. Running 3rd is Caleb Boykin. White flag, final lap, winner take all.
1 more lap. Stands between Noah Leonard. You can hear the crowd. They're roaring, they're hooting, they're hollering. They're wanting to see that photo finish.
If I'm Noah Leonard leading, I'm hanging on to the bottom. Don't try to block. Make them pass you on the high side. Hang on to the bottom. Don't get too caught up what's going on behind you right now.
And you've played the game before. The sensitivity on those controls, just enough of a wiggle could throw you for a loop.
Be smooth. Gotta be smooth with the steering. Don't go down and block. You're in trouble. Make them go the outside. You're giving it to them. Through turns 3 and 4, final time. There's the contact. Moved up the racetrack. We're going to have a photo finish to the line. It could be 3 wide.
It's going to be a close one. That number 5 car is coming through. Braxton Parrish pushes his way to the lead. We see the checkered flag, and just like that, the last curve is all it took.
Braxton Parrish wins at Daytona.
It was close all the way to the end. All 3 heats, Braxton Parrish was keeping himself in that top 4 and pushed himself right on that last turn. A little bump and grind, that fullback mode kicked in, and he got himself the victory.
We were talking about it. You knew your back bumper was going to get hammered. You had to be able to maintain control. Credit Braxton Parrish. I got to tip my cap to Noah Leonard. He drove a good race. Just came up a little bit short.
He did indeed. You can see the smiles on your screen right now. Parrish definitely got a little bit of sun, got a little bit of a sweat on the hands. He's definitely pushing himself through.
He's wearing a Martin Truex Jr. T-shirt too, and he drove the '78 car though. Maybe a little Mugumbo for today's Daytona 500, huh?
He's definitely going to be feeling pretty spiritual about that one coming into the big race. Now we do have a quick replay of that final bump, and this is where really things kind of turn themselves on the head.
It really is. Going into turn 3, you knew it was coming. Good job by Noah Leonard to hang on, but absolutely, Braxton Parrish would not be denied. Once you get alongside the door, you can pretty much, the old saying in racing is 8 tires turn better than 4. So when you get to the inside, you can lean to the right and drive that other competitor to the outside. Give yourself a free hole shot. That's exactly what happened. Great job driving.
You can see the selfies. You can see the pictures happen. Again, let's give it up for Braxton Parrish, who pulled himself the victory and won that beautifully sweet grand prize.
It's fantastic. Tell them again, it's well worth mentioning what this grand prize package is. We're not just flopping turkeys here. We're giving away some cool stuff.
Yes, we've got not only the signed Xbox One S, we've got Dave Moody, we've got Alex Hayden's, who's standing right here, as well as Jeffrey Earnhardt's signature on that Xbox One, a copy of the game, because of course you have to play what you just won.
Absolutely.
And then to top it all off, it's going to be 2 tickets to Harley J's for the big race itself, and then that rookie racing experience to give you a true NASCAR experience.
And it's such a cool event when you get to a NASCAR race, and we encourage you, come out, this is going to be going on. This is something that's not just here at Daytona, is it?
No, it's not. It's something that we will. No spoilers. We're not gonna open the floodgates on that one.
Nope.
But this truck, as well as this game, is definitely going to be going places this year. We've got a long season of NASCAR ahead, and we've got a lot of driving and miles to put on this new truck.
So if you don't have NASCAR Heat 2 right now, get it. Start practicing up. It's a great game. And get the add-on packages. That's where it all is. That's how you keep all the up-to-date paint schemes, all the up-to-date sponsors, and you even might have a familiar voice as your spotter in there.
Possibly something like that. I think he's going for that. That 2018 season update did just go live. So not only can you drive that Camaro, we saw it on the track here, we're going to see it on the big track today. All 3 series, as well as a couple other little goodies that we're going to have. But that's going to do it here at NASCAR Heat Champions. We're going to kick to a break in a second to get an interview of Braxton himself. But the floor is yours. Any last words for the NASCAR fans out there and the ones watching at home?
Spectacular day of e-racing, and that's what it's all about. This is the future, and this is where everybody is. And everybody, no matter what sport it is, even if it's orange juice sales, you got to hit the younger demographic. And it's not just young ones. I'm 47 years old. I'll say it. I don't care. And I play it. I love the game. It's so realistic, and it's a lot of fun, and it actually helps me do my job calling races on MRN because it's so realistic, and I get an idea what's going on out here. Gives me an opportunity to learn a couple of things, go in the garage, ask those questions to the drivers, to the competitors. It's a spectacular event. I look forward to it. I look forward also to the running of the 60th Daytona 500, the Great American Race. It's going to be a great race today.
Coming up very shortly, just a couple hours before we kick off and make things start a bit. Hey, Alex, thank you so much for coming by. Guys, we're going to take ourselves a quick little break, catch a quick little breeze, and we're going to bring over the winner, Braxton Parrish himself, to get a nice little winner's interview. Comes to a close. I'm joined here with the winner of NASCAR Heat Champion, the 16-year-old from North Carolina, Braxton Parrish. How are you feeling right now?
Amazing.
You really can't just put it into words. Coming to Daytona, coming to the truck, what was going through your mind throughout those 3 heats? Because it wasn't long on our end, but it definitely must have felt like an eternity in there.
I was thinking about how I was going to pass them because I knew they were going to hog the bottom line, and there was no way to get by them, so I just had to give them a little shove.
Coming into that last turn, it definitely was something that kind of pushed you ahead. A couple little bump and grinds, you got the inside. Were you thinking coming into that final turn, this is the play that I have to make?
Yes, I was.
Now, you told me beforehand you've been a little bit of a NASCAR fan here at Speedway. So you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
I've loved racing. My dad, he used to race, and he'd go to the track every weekend with a guy named Bart. He'd help him on late models, and ever since I was born, I've been to Speed Weeks, and I haven't missed one since. So.
Well, Dad, it's not the big track, but it's definitely a powerful track of its own. How are you feeling about your son right now?
It's awesome. I always yell at him for being on his Xbox a lot, but it paid off.
Well, hey, esports is definitely a thing, but what we all want to see is that presentation. We've got those 2 tickets to Harley J's for you, so I'll go ahead and give these over to you. And then we've got representative here from 704 Games is going to present that signed Xbox One S as well as a copy of NASCAR Heat 2. Braxton Parrish, everybody, the 16-year-old from North Carolina. Congratulations. And just like that, 3 days of competition here at the Esports Arena Drive comes to a thrilling close. It has been a fantastic time. We thank you to all the fans that are watching at home, the supporters that are coming here at the Midway, but more importantly, everybody that is in NASCAR. This is the 60th anniversary of the Daytona 500, the most historic race in all of American racing. From myself, the crew, Microsoft, 704 Games, everyone here, thank you and have a good rest of the day.